Yeah, it's clearly that we, over the last years, took big steps towards total talent management. Whatever this means at the end of the day, I think we still need to find out. So both on the permanent and contingent side, we did tremendous efforts to become globally in the programs we're running. Lessons learned is definitely we still need support on the organizational setup, so that procurement and HR, or MBS in our case, the business services section needs to come closer, operate more close. And then I think the next steps will be to implement new measures in regards to technology, a common understanding of workforce management, and that the cooperation in a holistic view then also run a total workforce management. Mobility and also training of the permanent staff, which is already in the company, is also of great importance towards total workforce management or total talent management, which I wasn't aware about that much in the past. So training for the people you already have on board, maybe they are the solution for your future problems. So we need to just train them or get people from different countries into our country. So mobility and learning, I think it's also a huge part of total workforce management.
We are really building towards one entry point where we get the best candidate the best experience for the hiring manager, and just sort of a one-stop shop or a simple experience where they get the best advice for their needs, and at the same time we want to do the same for the candidate or the workers. So we want to connect the business and the manager with the talent in a seamless way, and vice versa. So the next steps are really looking at beyond employee hiring and contingent worker engagements, also to expand further to get visibility on the whole range of other workforce types we currently use at the company, and make sure that we are compliant in that sense, and that we make the right choices for the right reasons. The other element is maybe even more important, and is that making the link towards our internal organization, because why would we go external if we have great people internally who we can develop or utilize for the greater good. The greatest benefits essentially are that managers are now supported and helped in making the right decision based on data, fact-based decision making, and that they are offered better and more solutions to their needs. It's not only contingent employee or outsourcing, but there are a lot of different nuances which make a lot of sense to the business from a cost perspective or a talent availability perspective, or a knowledge retention perspective, for instance, just naming a few.
So I think one of the major issues that organisations are having today, in light of the current economic climate, in light of the complexity and uncertainty that exists in the future of many organisations, combined with that environment, is how do you get work done in the future, and how do you strategically workforce plan for the type of work that you'll need to get done in the future. And our advice to clients is really to start thinking of this in much more of a total talent methodology approach, where they're not thinking in the traditional siloed ways of contingent workers, perm workers, statement of work, gig workers, etc., but more so using real-time market analytics to make a decision about how, where and why they could get work done. And we strongly believe that our Talent Advisor Toolkit allows that competitive advantage to be brought into organisations to really create that agility on how work gets done.
So at Stanley Black & Decker, it's my job to help the executive team understand I'm the subject matter expert as it comes to recruiting. We've built a nimble, reactive talent acquisition team, and they need to pull me in early enough so that we can be sure that we meet the business needs.
Cisco is introducing technology, specifically artificial intelligence, in a couple of different places within our process. We're starting at the top of the funnel. We have an overwhelming volume of candidates that are applying to our jobs every single day, thousands of candidates, and we just don't have the resources for recruiters to go through every single resume and review every single profile. So we can introduce technology at the top of the funnel by way of a chatbot to collect more specific data, effectively digitize our screening process, so then we can take that information and deliver specific results back to our hiring managers, and our recruiters can effectively evaluate which candidates to move forward in the process. We also can introduce a unique and exciting experience for candidates that they might not receive applying for for jobs with some of our competitors. The other place that within our process that we're introducing artificial intelligence is within our interview scheduling. The interview scheduling process also requires a lot of manual work in order to get calendar events scheduled and people in the door. And we have scheduled thousands of interviews every single week. So what we can do with the chatbot is we can reduce that scheduling process down to an automated experience for both the interviewers as well as the candidates, and take all of that manual work off the plate of our interview scheduling coordinators, who can then focus their efforts more on more value-added candidate experiences.
Contingent talent procurement has been commoditized over the last years, and contingent talent has been procured as, you know, any good that has been procured. So it has been entered into a system. You had a need for a certain resource, and the need is entered into a system. Then some supplier is delivering a talent, and then the process was basically over. And I think in times of scarce resource and the vast development in skills and tools and so on, companies need to rethink their engagement strategies and really engage with contingent talent, leverage the employer brand to really build a relationship with contingent talent over time, as they would do with their perm employees. And I think that's a thing that most companies currently don't do, and that would have huge impact on time of fill and also quality of work in the end.
We have a lot of obvious, I would almost say, tactical benefits and improvements by deploying the program as we have it, or building the integration between contingent worker engagement and employee hiring. Like, for example, the bigger pool of talent, like, for example, one approach to the market, all kinds of process and lean initiatives, total workforce visibility. However, I believe that our impact is transcended on a larger level, that is integral, very important for our company, that is productivity. Basically what we're doing is that we bring demand and supply of work as close together as possible. And for us, for me, that means that we are working towards a more productive workforce. Well, what is on our agenda, higher on our agenda for 2020 is elevating our decision guidance, guiding the business to make better workforce decisions. We have already building blocks in place to start operationalizing that now, and the deployment of that program, further deployment of our program, is on our list. Besides that, we have to work on more total workforce visibility. We have already a lot of visibility on our employees and contingent workers, and we would like to include the SOW for the organization in one view, not only when it comes to the workforce, but also the total workforce cost. And the third is that we are working on further integration between employee hiring and contingent worker engagement by, for example, building a interface or an integration actually between Fieldglass and Workday, alignment of processes in delivery to the business, and also our promise to the market. So there's still a lot to do in our program. I'm looking forward to that.
So I think every organization that is looking at defining a strategy or an implementation towards a total talent strategy should be clearly asking themselves a few strategic questions. The first one is, are we ready as an organization? In this way I mean, is the HR function well aligned with the procurement function? these two departments typically in conjunction really need to define the total talent strategy. So that for me is a critical one. Is the organization set up well, and do they have the right structure in place to drive total talent? Another big part when you talk about total talent, in essence that's regardless whether organizations are looking at perm hiring or contingent hiring, it is also very important for them to understand what is their future demand. How does the workforce that they have today, how does that look like in 5 years, 10 years from now? 10 years might be a little bit too long. In order to do that, they really need to also be able to understand the impact of things like machine learning and AI. What jobs, what skills do they have today within their organization that are becoming obsolete? That question is critical again, since it gives them the opportunity to think about potentially reskilling individuals or upskilling individuals or potentially outplacement of individuals. I think only then, if you have that question answered, you are able to really look at the right volumes in perm hiring and contingent hiring. So for me that's the number 2. And number 3 has to do with the technology landscape. Clearly on the contingent side we lean very much on platforms like vendor management systems. On the perm side we lean on platforms like ATSs and CRMs. But the connection between the two ultimately needs to be driven by sometimes we call it a decision wizard, a platform that helps and navigates a hiring manager in making the right choices. Should we hire a certain skill set as a perm or as a contingent? Or should we think about a statement of work and outsourcing element? So for me these are 3 real clear questions that every organization should think about.